Well, we finally received a Conor McGregor fight announcement at the UFC 300 post-fight press conference. Dana White announced Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler at UFC 303, June 29th. And I wanted to cover this in the immediate aftermath of UFC 300, but I didn't. And I'm so glad I didn't, because not only did Michael Chandler post an Instagram post that kind of attacked me, that a lot of people tagged me in. He was attacking a lot of fans in general. It wasn't just singling me out. But today, he sent me some direct messages on Instagram. Now that he's so elated that his fight was finally confirmed by Daddy Dana White, June 29th, UFC 303. The second Michael Chandler heard that, he posted his edit that he had waiting on his phone to tell all the haters off. And he said, you know what? I'm not listening to Creed anymore. I'm not listening to Sad Squatch. I'm going to listen to Shania Twain. You're the one. Because we might have took the long way, but we knew we'd get there someday. That's what Michael Chandler decided to do. And we're going to take a look at the Instagram post. We're going to take a look at the private messages he sent me to rub it in my face that he finally got the fight. And then also, I'm going to say some things in this video, and I've said some things in the past that have probably upset Michael Chandler. By the end of this video, I promise you this, if you stay to the end of this video, we're gonna mend fences. We're gonna patch up this relationship, because at the end of the day, I really meant no harm to Michael Chandler at all. But we're also gonna look at a little bit of receipts. And when people say, Joey, you were so wrong, you're such an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, we're gonna kind of break that down in this video as well. Because me being a man, I can admit when I am wrong, but I think some people are twisting themselves into pretzels to try to make me look dumb, when in reality, I don't really look all that stupid, and I really wouldn't change the coverage of this particular topic over the past year. But let's start off right away with the actual fight announcement at the UFC 300 post-fight press conference. And actually, there's another clip that we're going to look at that a lot of people missed because of an audio outage that I think explains why this fight finally came together between Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. I haven't seen it posted anywhere. I haven't seen anyone talk about it. All they talk about is the fight announcement. But let's see the slew of fight announcements that Dana White makes at UFC 300.
In the co-main event.
I'm getting notes. This has never happened before.
Do you want to read them?
June 1st, Newark, New Jersey pay-per-view. Main event, Islam versus Poirier. Co-main event, 5 rounds, Strickland versus Costa.
So he announces 302 first, Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. Co-main, Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. I already made a dedicated video on this. I will link down in the description if you want to go check that out after this. Not going to be talking much about either of those fights in this video. Maybe a little bit about the lightweight title fight. But then we get into the fight announcement we all want to hear. Michael Chandler's, waiting on the edge of his seat for this fight announcement.
June 29th. Conor versus Chandler. 5 rounds, 170 pounds.
5 rounds, 170 pounds. Now, we're going to come back to this post-fight presser here in a second. But let's start off with my reaction to this fight and my early prediction. We're going to go through for just a minute or two. And then we're going to get into, was I wrong? Was I wrong about this? A lot of people are trying to rub it in my face, Michael Chandler included, which I can't wait to show you my response to Michael Chandler. We're going to respond to him in this video, but I also messaged him back. But let's start off with my reaction and my early prediction for this fight. My reaction to this fight, I'm happy that it finally came together. I'm happy for Michael Chandler. I'm happy that Conor's still returning. It seems like he was really troubled. It seemed like he was using drugs. It seems like he was getting in trouble. I'm happy that if he does finally return, honestly, I still have my doubts. Is anyone else feeling like I have to see these two in the cage with Bruce Buffer announcing before this fight actually happens? Because that's kind of how I feel right now. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but at the end of the day, it kind of feels, I'm cautiously optimistic, but at the end of the day, Chandler's on board. Conor says he's on board, and now Dana White and the UFC finally announced it officially. I feel like it's going to happen, but with this fight, it feels like it's a bit cursed. Now, in terms of an early prediction, before we get into the real meat of the video, which this video is going to be an absolute classic, can you guys do me a favor? Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. But in terms of an early prediction, I'm not picking people coming back from long layoffs with catastrophic injuries. And you look at the history of it, Anderson Silva broke his leg, similar injury, came back, never looked the same. Chris Weidman broke his leg, came back, never looked the same unless he's eye poking 17 times over. Maybe Conor McGregor will try that. But then you look at some other serious injuries and long layoffs from recently. Yuri returning against Pereira. Hill returning against Pereira. You look at even Calvin Kattar recently. You look at Rockage recently. It seems like if you return from a long layoff with a catastrophic injury, you're just going to lose. So for an early prediction, I'm going Michael Chandler. I'm picking Michael Chandler to win probably by brutal KO. Probably by brutal KO. We'll revisit that when we get to the fight. Now, in terms of the people who were saying, Joey, you were so wrong. You didn't know what you were talking about. You said that this fight would never happen. We're going to look at what Michael Chandler posted on his Instagram in a second. He posted an audio clip along with some other things. I'm going to show you it specifically, the exact post. But I don't feel like I was that wrong. And believe me, I can accept when I'm wrong. You look back at the history, and again, I have an entire playlist on this. You can look through and you can search for receipts. I debated about showing all those in this video. But you look at it, the fight was initially announced back in, I believe it was February. It was either late January or early February of 2023. Okay, so we're talking a year and a half ago, basically, at this point. Now, there was original discussion from fans and speculation from a lot of people. Oh, it's going to happen this summer. And I said, it's not going to happen this summer. Then it was like, oh, it's going to happen this fall. People were talking about September. Then there was a little bit of talk about November. And then there was a lot of talk. And Michael Chandler even basically going out of his way in interviews to confirm the fight for December. And I said, there's no way it's happening in December. There's no contract signed. There's no, USADA is still in the way. There's an issue with USADA. I did not believe that it was going to happen. And the reason that I covered this so extensively, and the reason I made so many videos about this, is because of the fans. A lot of the fans were getting so excited for this fight. I'm sure some of you guys can attest to it down in the comments. Please let me know. Where you were super excited for this fight, thinking it's going to happen in the summer, thinking it's going to happen in the fall, thinking it's going to happen in December. And then I was trying to break the news to you guys. Look, don't get excited. Don't get your expectations up, because Conor McGregor, The Ultimate Fighter, Michael Chandler, Dana White to some extent, they're selling you wolf tickets. Really, Dana White wasn't saying that much. He was kind of being coy, playing coy every time he was asked about it. But they were selling you wolf tickets. Michael Chandler is doing interviews last summer. I mean, I covered this in videos last summer saying, yeah, I'm confident it's going to happen in December. And fans were like, yes, McGregor Chandler set for December. And I think that while I was right time and time again, I was right, okay? Then you get into the year 2024, and you get into the initial announcement of Conor McGregor in early January. He says, I'm going to fight Michael Chandler June 29th. And Michael Chandler goes on a media tour. He gets, he's Iron Mike Chandler after hearing that. He's going on a media tour. He's like, you know what? The fight's confirmed now. I'm leaving my family. He said, I'm leaving my family. In January, he said he was leaving his family to go train for a fight June 29th. And I said, look, I doubt this fight even happens June 29th. I have my doubts. I've been proven right time and time again. I'm cautiously optimistic. Maybe it happens, but my take was that it most likely does not happen. And then with other context clues that I've covered extensively, again, I'm not going to show them in this video. You guys can go back and watch them if you want. Once I heard Dana White really talking about the topic, I realized there's a contract dispute going on with Conor McGregor. And I think that contract dispute may have been resolved. We're going to look at a clip from Dana White in a second. But now officially, it's going to happen UFC 303, June 29th. And in the terms of me saying it's not going to happen June 29th, in the terms of me saying it's never going to happen, which I actually said, I'm going to even show you a clip of me saying that, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Period. No buts, no ifs, nothing. I was wrong when I said Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler will not happen June 29th. I take full responsibility for that. Full responsibility for that. Now, let's take a look again from the UFC 300 post-fight presser, a clip that a lot of people missed because the audio went out. And I'm actually going to start it a little bit early so you can hear the audios out and you can hear what Dana White says when they come back. And I think this is really hinting at how this fight finally came together. Listen to what Dana White has to say about Conor McGregor right here. You'll hear it. You won't hear audio for the first 2 seconds or so.
He's easy to deal with, and we're back. Yeah, Conor's always been easy to deal with. He's a smart dude, and Conor is a diehard UFC guy and will be till he retires and beyond.
Conor McGregor is a diehard UFC guy and will be until he retires and beyond. That tells me that's a change in tone from Dana White. That tells me that potentially the UFC and Dana White were able to get Conor McGregor to sign a contract extension. If you've watched my channel, he's down to 2 fights. The UFC does not like to let prominent fighters fight out their UFC contracts and have leverage, because somebody like Conor McGregor, they get down to 1 fight. That's a lot of leverage. And the reason I did not believe it would happen June 29th is because every single interview Conor McGregor was mentioning his contract. We confirmed, we had a press release back in October of 2018 that Conor McGregor signed a 6-fight deal. He had 2 fights left on his deal. We knew that as fact. And we know historically Dana White and the UFC does not like to let fighters fight out their deal. So that's why I believe it would not come to fruition on June 29th. Well, now it appears, and again, we don't know for sure, this is just speculation based on the evidence we have, that potentially Conor McGregor signed a contract extension, which I think is very interesting that nobody really pointed that out. Again, it's not 100% factual, but I think it was worth at least posting that clip somewhere. I didn't see it anywhere. Luckily, I went and watched this full post-fight presser in its entirety. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you, now I ripped this from Chandler's Instagram. This is an Instagram post that he had where he uses my audio and he uses screenshots of different comments and whatnot to basically talk shit at the doubters. Okay, now this is recorded on a desktop. I recorded with OBS, so like the comments are over here, but this is the actual post. This like black box here from this line over is essentially the Instagram post. Now, if you listen very closely in the beginning, it's audio from one of my videos, and then Michael Chandler kind of responds to all the doubters, and you see the comments pop up on the screen to all the doubters in this fight. Let's listen. Conor McGregor is totally playing Michael Chandler and may never end up actually fighting him.
And it's getting to the point where McGregor's kind of playing Michael Chandler like a fiddle. He's kind of just messing with Michael Chandler.
By the way, he had this edit on standby.
I told you we'd be right here. The fight is announced. It's time to start preparing. Thank you guys who have been on this journey with me. Thank you, those of you who have believed in me. Now it's time to go get the job done. And to all you hating ass mother pieces of shit sitting around on your keyboards in your grandma's basement.
All right, the rest of it, you don't really hear anything. It's just kind of a weird edit where he's got some audio overlaid it. First off, I took that personally. He used my audio in the beginning, but all I said was Michael Chandler is getting played by Conor McGregor for a fight that he may never get. I don't think that's unreasonable at the time for the set of circumstances that we had. Secondly, all these, horrible words and all these slanderous things and all these pejoratives, I feel like they were pointed at me, Michael Chandler. And first off, for a guy who claims to be a devout Christian, I don't think that's very Christian of you to be posting online, attacking another man with those types of pejoratives, okay? And those types of words. I think that's horrible. Okay, I'm partly kidding there. But at the end of the day, I think what Michael Chandler misses is a lot of these people, myself included, were fans that were disgusted, that were sad, that were upset, that were frustrated, that one of our favorite fighters to watch, one of the most exciting fighters on the roster, was sitting on the sidelines for what felt like eternity. What's going to be the return time, I guess? July is what? 4 months before? So 2 years, 20 months. By the time he returns, it'll be 20 months. He hasn't fought since November 2022, since he fought Dustin Poirier. And he sat on the sidelines for all this time, potentially wasting his career in his late 30s for a fight that he may never get. And what's so hilarious about this fight announcement in general is the fact that Dana White announced Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier in the same breath, because that proves what a mistake this was for Michael Chandler. It proves that it was a mistake, because I always said Michael Chandler could have gotten a title shot, an undisputed title shot. All he needed was one win. And a stylistic clash between Islam Makhachev and Michael Chandler would have been a fight a lot of fans would have gotten behind, and it would have been a very compelling matchup. Now, I personally don't favor him to beat Islam Makhachev. He's got good wrestling. He's super explosive and powerful, nasty hands, and also has very good jiu-jitsu as well. Look at it. He survived with Charles Oliveira on his back in the first round. That would have been a very compelling matchup, and all Chandler had to do was fight one time, and he would have had an Islam Makhachev title shot, potentially. Potentially. Now, he may go on to brutally KO Conor McGregor and then potentially get an undeserved title shot off a win over Conor McGregor. Sure. But he could have already had one. And even if he lost, let's say he went out there against Benoit Saint-Denis at UFC 299 and he lost, the Conor McGregor fight would have been there for the taking still. So I think he misses the mark in realizing that a lot of fans were tired of seeing him sit on the sidelines when they wanted to see him fight. And then also another layer to it, at least for me, because I've been a fan of Michael Chandler for a long time. You can go watch me talk about him in videos from 2 years ago. I've been a fan of Chandler for a long time. You can go back to the Dave and Buster's commercials for Bellator. I'm pretty sure I've seen every single one of his fights at Bellator. The Eddie Alvarez fights. The Eddie Alvarez fights right before Alvarez left because of the contract dispute. I've watched it all. I've seen it all. I've been following him for his entire career, not just his UFC career. But another layer to it was watching him grovel to Conor McGregor. To watch the way he acted about Conor McGregor, it's embarrassing. It's outright embarrassing. I got one dude on my mind, and that just encapsulates it. I mean, that by itself isn't as bad, but he's like, yeah, I'll go to 185. I'll do this. I'll do that, because he so desperately wants to be locked in the cage with Conor McGregor. He so desperately wants Conor McGregor to take him to the NBA Finals bathroom. And it's just straight up embarrassing. But at the end of the day, he's finally getting the fight. I'm happy for him. I'm genuinely happy for him. I'm never rooting against him. At one point, I started to feel like, okay, this guy, if he's not seeing it with his own two eyes, he deserves whatever he gets. But at the end of the day, he's getting the fight. And the clip that he's showing, the audio clip of me, is, oh, Conor McGregor's playing him for a fight he may never get. Keyword, may never get. But that doesn't change the fact that at some points in time, I did say that he would never get the fight. And I did say some things that were nasty about Michael Chandler. We're actually going to look at a clip of that right now. But when I say these things, this isn't meant for clout chasing. I think it's super embarrassing when people on Twitter, people on YouTube, even content creators, single out people in the MMA community, celebrities, and attack them in hopes of a reaction, in hopes of a response for clout. That's not what I do. I'm not sending this stuff to people. I post the content for the fans because the fans' expectations based on Michael Chandler's interviews, stuff that Conor was posting, was that this fight was going to happen last year. I wanted to cover it and tell you guys, look, I don't think this fight's happening, to temper your expectations because you were being sold wolf tickets. But at the end of the day, I did say some things that were wrong. We're going to take a look at one clip from a video. But then we're gonna patch this up towards the end of the video after I respond to the messages that Michael Chandler sent me, that maybe he's mad about my response to that. But let's take a look at a clip from one of my videos. This is right after the Michael Chandler call out on WWE Raw, where I think he completely humiliated himself. And I said some nasty things here, okay? I can take full responsibility for this. And I also did say that it would never happen. I didn't just say the clip that Chandler used where I said, oh, well, it may not happen. I actually did say it would never happen. And I was wrong about that, so I wanted to at least show one clip in the video that I was wrong. Honestly, Michael Chandler, I swear on my life, Michael Chandler would enjoy a Conor McGregor sex toy from Vince McMahon right now. That is how desperate he is for a Conor McGregor fight. You're never getting it. You're never getting it. You got one dude on your mind. How long has he been on your mind for? So there you go. I said he's never getting it. I was wrong. I take responsibility for that, period. But at the end of the day, I just felt like it wasn't going to happen. I mean, how many times was I right that it wasn't going to happen? And it's like, it keeps going and going and going and going and going. At some point, I'm like, okay, I don't believe it at all. I still don't believe it until they're actually in the cage. I'm more inclined to believe it's going to happen now that everybody involved has agreed that it's going to happen, but I still have my reservations. Who knows? Conor McGregor may end up getting arrested before then. Conor McGregor may end up failing a drug test before then. We don't know. Obviously, they have the in-house UFC drug testing program now, but who knows? But another clip I want to look at, and this was ripped from Michael Chandler's Instagram story, or it might have been an Instagram post. This just made me feel bad for Michael Chandler. I realized what the headspace that he was actually in waiting for this fight, and that's why I wanted to show this. This is from Michael Chandler's Instagram. I don't know if it's a story or a regular post, but someone ripped it and put it on Twitter, and I saw it right before I was getting ready to record this video. So check this out.
And I never really doubted it as much as you guys did. I had
that just shows me that he actually doubted it, by the way. I never really doubted it as much as you guys did.
a lot more reassurances behind the scenes than you guys know about. I just knew it was going to take time. And I preach exactly what I had to go through, and I had my moments that I didn't do so well with it, but the hard hard work eventually pays off. You just have to still be standing there when it does. And it's not that people don't do the right things. It's that they don't do the right things for long enough. See, it's not about you, and it's not about your timeline. It's not about what you want. Sometimes it's just about doing what you need to do with faith, with enthusiasm, constantly moving forward. That's where the beauty is. Get after it today. See you at the top.
So that just tells me that Chandler was questioning and starting to doubt whether this fight was ever going to happen. And he was starting to let that self-doubt creep in. And he was starting to think, did I waste my career for this? What did I do? Wait all this time and now I'm not going to get the fight? So now I actually feel kind of bad, especially now that I know he was watching my videos and like, oh, maybe this guy's right. Maybe it's never going to happen. It could have very well never happened. It easily could have never happened if Conor McGregor potentially didn't sign a new contract. Maybe he didn't. Maybe the UFC just finally gave in and booked the fight. I think he signed a new contract. But when I'm seeing his headspace here, I'm like, you know what? I actually feel bad for Michael Chandler. And that's why I decided to patch things up. Because, you know what? I'm not doing this to clout chase Michael Chandler. I was never doing these videos to get a reaction from Michael Chandler. I was just covering what I saw and making an educated guess based on the things that I saw. So I truly, truly felt bad for Michael Chandler after seeing this video. But it just goes to show he wasn't even sure that this fight is going to happen. He was not even sure that this fight was going to happen. Now, the next thing I want to get into are the direct messages from Michael Chandler, which I'm going to show to you guys. And then I'm going to show you what I responded in those messages. But I'm also going to respond in this very video as well. I'll put them up on the screen. Michael Chandler messaged me and said, sorry to hear about the passing of your beloved video thread toward me and my decisions in my illustrious career. You really did have a good run. Keep your head up, kid. Michael Chandler has had two dudes on his mind at all times. He has had two dudes on his mind at all times. And he's been watching the videos and being upset about the videos. I'm just calling it like I see it. And it didn't happen in 2023. I'm happy for you, Chandler, that you're getting it on June 29th. Supposedly. I hope it all goes through, Chandler. I'm wishing you the best. But watching you grovel to another grown man was some of the most embarrassing, pathetic, delusional. There's so many words that I could throw out. It was hard to watch, man. It was hard to watch. And I understand you really wanted this fight because of the red panty night. But I believe red panty night's a fallacy. I understand what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, I'm not going to get pay-per-view points, which if you're getting pay-per-view points, that's awesome. I hope you are, but I doubt it. It's not going to happen. It's not the red panty night that everyone thinks it is. You're getting paid probably what you normally get paid, and then you're hoping to parlay a win into superstardom. And the problem I have with that, I mean, it's not really a problem I have with that, but the reason that's problematic for you is because what does a win over Conor McGregor do anymore? Let me know. In terms of the MMA community, let me know down in the comments. Does Michael Chandler's win over Conor McGregor mean anything? He's out for 3 years, coming back from a catastrophic injury, coming off of multiple losses, hasn't won a fight in God knows how long. By the way, I meant to mention this earlier. I hate that it's at 170. What does that mean? So if Chandler beats him, he's going to ask for a 155 title fight. He's going to ask for a 170 title fight. No way he's getting a 170 title fight. He would get smashed by the guys at 170. So even the weight class makes absolutely no sense for either participant. Maybe if Conor wins, the UFC would gift him a welterweight title shot. But for Chandler, a win over Conor, what is everyone going to say? And they're not necessarily wrong. They're going to say, oh, Conor's coming back from a leg break. Conor hasn't fought in 3 years. Conor hasn't won against a decent opponent since 2016, 8 years ago. 8 years ago. Damn, that's crazy. 2016 is Conor's last good win. Since 2016, he's only beaten what? Cowboy Cerrone, the dead carcass of Cowboy Cerrone. So that's why I made these videos, were for the fans, but also because of all these different factors that I felt like this was a bad decision for Michael Chandler. Not that I was trying to push these videos towards him, but that's just the way I felt. Now let's take a look at my response to Michael Chandler. I responded and said, Don't worry about it. I have Creed and Sad Squatch to drown out my sorrows. I had a great run and it could be worse. I could have wasted years waiting for another grown man to show me attention. I'm waiting. I'm happy for you. And hopefully McGregor puts you in the north-south position in your fight and you'll really be on cloud 9. I'll be making an updated video today. Thanks for watching. See you at the top. So that was my response to Michael Chandler. I hope, you know, he gets the fight. I hope he makes it to the fight unscathed, uninjured, in his prime, even though he's in his late 30s, wasting 2 years of paydays that he could have gotten and still gotten this fight. He could have been fighting for an undisputed title, which I think for him would have been worth more. Because again, he's not getting pay-per-view points to fight Conor McGregor. It's just not happening. It is just not happening. So maybe he made the right decision. Maybe he'll go out there, flatline Conor McGregor, and that will elevate him to this megastar. Dustin Poirier built his star power off of knocking out Conor McGregor back in January of 2021. That's 3.5 years ago. I don't think a win over Conor McGregor in summer of 2024 is going to be as meaningful as what Dustin Poirier was able to do in 2021. And it's not like that elevated Dustin into some megastar. He has some decent name value. I don't think it's going to be as meaningful for Michael Chandler in summer of 2024. I just find that hard to believe. Now, okay, maybe Chandler's upset with that. Maybe he doesn't like that. Maybe some of you guys are still like, Joey, you just can't admit that you were wrong, whatever. Again, I was wrong that it's never going to happen. I was wrong that it's not happening June 29th. But the context clues, if you followed the crumbs, it didn't appear like it was going to happen. It did not appear like it was going to happen. And it was embarrassing seeing Michael Chandler grovel at the feet of Conor McGregor. At least I felt secondhand embarrassment for a fighter that I love to watch, that I love to cheer for even at some points in time. Now, I know I've said some things in the past, in this video even, you know, Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler, North-South, NBA Finals restroom, that are probably going to upset Michael Chandler, that are probably going to upset him, that are probably, he probably saw that message response and is like, you know what, fuck this guy. But you know what, I'm going to make it up to him. I'm not looking to apologize here because I don't believe I did anything wrong, but I'm just showing my good faith, okay? I'm just showing my good faith to Michael Chandler. And how this all started was, I was doing a little bit of research before I did this video. I'm like, did Michael Chandler do any more interviews? Let me look around, let me peruse the internet. And I found this interview that he did with some news channel, local and two. And this is what I heard from Michael Chandler. Let's listen to what Michael Chandler had to say here.
I contacted my friends at Melon. They, in my opinion, make the best hats on the planet. I said, hey, can we make a hat, print up as many as we can, put Covenant on it, and have every single purchase go toward the Covenant Fund? And
so he's selling a hat for a charity, for a school, for the Covenant School. I believe I Googled it a little bit more, and I believe it was to help some victims of a shooting or whatnot. But essentially, you can buy the hat. I went and looked for the hat. You can buy the hat for $100 to support the victims of, or support the school, and the school was supporting the victims, something along those lines. But I don't really wear hats. I didn't really want to buy a hat. So you know what I did, Michael Chandler? I made a donation to your Covenant School, and I put the message as, I got one dude on my mind. And while that isn't necessarily a receipt right there, that's like the pre-stages of the donation, I'll put on the screen I'll blur out some numbers because I don't know if they actually matter. I made a $100 donation to the Covenant School for Michael Chandler, saying, I got one dude on my mind. I even covered the credit card processing fee, or the card processing fee, whatever it was, in honor of Michael Chandler, in honor of him getting the fight, in honor of him finally getting to touch Conor McGregor in the cage half naked. I said, you know what? Let me donate to one of his favorite schools, one of his favorite charities. I just donated to the fund outright. Again, I'll put the receipt on screen so you can see it. And I'll even put the link down in the description. If anybody else wants to donate to the school, I just donated to the annual fund because I think it just goes to everything. And put in the message, I got one dude on my mind. I would encourage everyone to go do that. But overall, I was shocked to see the messages from Michael Chandler. I honestly feel bad that he was watching the videos and it was making him feel bad about it. But at the end of the day, I was just speaking facts. I was just speaking the truth. I was just speaking the way I felt. I'm not pandering to anyone. I'm not looking to garner anyone's attention. But the way he was acting was embarrassing, okay? The way he was acting towards Conor McGregor was completely and utterly embarrassing. But let's end on a high note. Again, if you want to go donate to Michael Chandler's favorite charity, It will be down in the description, even though he was using those nasty words in that Instagram video earlier. It wasn't very Christian of him. Go donate to the charity. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.